Hello and welcome to a JobRobotix tutorial video. In today's video, I want to talk about table rules. Table rules are a very powerful style of rule that are able to make adjustments to specific jobs and really contain all of the rule data into one spot. Uh, in essence, table rules are a bunch of rules able to be combined into one rule. Helps you keep things a lot cleaner, avoid having to make lots of different rules to affect the same kind of things, and allows you to just have to basically edit one rule each time you want to make a specific kind of adjustment. So I think the best way to go about this is to take an example situation. So something that we're going to try and fix. Here's the problem. So we come across this job, this test example, and you can see that our system is pulling it in and understanding it as RN MedSurg. But if I look at the unit, it says MS Tele. So the unit's being a little more specific than our system is. When our system standardizes job information, when it pulls it in, it can sometimes overgeneralize, and this is one of those cases where it seems like it's overgeneralizing. So our job then with this rule would be to recognize, okay, if it's coming in as RN MedSurg, but it mentions Tele in the unit, then it should be MedSurg Tele or something like that. So let's say we want to do that kind of a rule, and we'll start here. So I'm going to call this adjust JobRobotix degree specialty classification, saying that JobRobotix is classifying this incorrectly. Sometimes you'll see it in the VMS is doing it incorrectly as well, but yeah, otherwise this is a good way to word it. And this is a common rule that our support team puts in for a lot of different customers. So there's a good chance that you have maybe not exactly worded like this, but something very similar as well in place already. The thing to note with table rules is you don't necessarily need conditions. You can add conditions, and these conditions will kind of be looked at before the table comes into effect. But in this case, we actually don't want any conditions. We want every single rule or every single job to be kind of set against this table and to see if it matches something. So come here. Table rules will work with arithmetic rules, for instance, or profit calc rules. In this case, it's supplemental data, and you'll click this little check. You can see here. And this allows you to set values ahead of time and stuff if you want to maybe work with them later. I think a good example of an arithmetic table rule is, let's say you wanted to do some sort of profit calculation where you're dealing with guaranteed hours, and your table can take shift as the first value, JobRobotix shift, and then set guaranteed hours based on shift. So let's say guaranteed hours are coming in blank initially, and you want then like 3x12 jobs to have 36 hours. Now this obviously isn't for our example here, but then the point of this is you could then come here and you could use guaranteed hours to set gross bill, to make a calculation, and I'll get the table first, and let's just say, I don't know, that times the bill rate or something like that. Yeah, so that would make a calculation then, and it would take a look at the table first before it ran this row. Okay, we don't care about that in this case. And in fact, for our example, we want a build rule. And I add typically several standard fields to this kind of thing, and the kind of big idea here is the VMS data fields are your condition fields. So we'll string several things together. What we said earlier was that the JobRobotix profession was, for this one, RN right now. The specialty was right now MedSurg, and the unit mentions the word Tele. It's important to recognize that within the table, these squares, these fields, contains logic. So basically, it doesn't have to. I don't have to specify exactly what equals. If I put tele here, the idea here is that the unit contains tele. This profession contains RN. The specialty contains med surg. So it makes it easier to match more things specifically. So the idea here is if we have a job that matches these three conditions, and our example does, then we want to set values based on that. So the VMS data fields are the original conditions here. Think about like that as like your winter run for a normal rule. And we're going to set the profession and specialty, and primarily what we're trying to correct here is the specialty. So we want it to be med surg tele at the end of this. So I'm going to save this, and I'm using the example that we have is through a spreadsheet. And so normally you can go into JobRobotix, post this. You can go into JobRobotix, select the job, click Actions, reapply, and that's how you would have it reapply. But with spreadsheet jobs, I have to re-upload it to get it to apply. So just trying to get back to that apply. So now, pulling this up, you can see that our specialty has changed to med surg tele. So it recognized that the original one was RN, the original specialty was med surg, but the unit had tele in it, and so it's changing it to med surg tele for us. Now the real power of this kind of rule is it's possible to adjust more than just one thing within the rule. So I have another example here, and this one, you'll notice the degree is RN, the specialty is OR, the unit also says OR, but if I look up here at the title, it mentions cardiovascular, and so this would be probably a CVOR position. And so the system is not classifying this correctly, and we can take a look at this and we can adjust it accordingly. So if I go to our rule, same one, and I pop into the table here, I can add a row, oops, clicked it twice, add a row and say, okay, if it's coming in as RNOR, but the title contains cardiovascular, then we want to change it to CVOR. Now, I need to add title here. Sorry, not CVOR, cardiovascular. And CVOR. Okay. So what this is going to do then is it's going to allow us to match jobs that are coming in right now with a JobRobotix profession of RN, specialty of OR, and a title that contains the word cardiovascular, and it's going to change those to CVOR. You'll note that the unit field in this one is now blank. And same thing, by adding this other row, we've left the title blank for our previous row. Note that this is not going to affect it. It only will look at things that have a value in it. So it's not going to say if the profession is RN, the specialty is OR, the unit is blank, and the title is cardiovascular. It will just ignore this, recognizing that there's nothing here in the first place. And same goes for the profession. I didn't mention it before, but we're not taking it's RN right now, and we're not just blanking it out by leaving this here. The system is only going to pay attention to boxes that have something filled in. So oftentimes with this kind of rule, I mentioned I have some kind of standard fields I put in, and if you have it in your system already, it probably already has these. I'll go ahead and put these in now. Oops. Specialty. And again, these aren't going to make any impact in things if I'm not filling them in ahead of time. I can also reorder these if I want to by clicking the arrow. I have a specific order of things that I typically look for, but it's just a complete preference. If you have an order that you want, you can adjust these and push them either direction with these arrows. And oh, the other thing is too, if let's say I have a really big row, I'll give you an example. Here we are in this one. Within table rules, you can use the bar character to specify other things. And you can actually do this within normal rules as well. So if I went to when to run and I said facility equals general hospital, and I wanted to come up with like more facilities, so not just General Hospital, but others as well. I could do like Houston Clinic, and I could do I don't know, Houston Methodist Hospital. And I'm putting this bar character here, and that's the up and down pipe that's above your enter key. If you press shift and then that button, you'll get this, and it's basically the equivalent of like comma in our system. It comes up with like a list. Well, you could do this exact same thing within the table. And let's say, okay, I had facility. Let's say I do this, and you can see that it's missing some things. You got to kind of scroll to the side to see it all. Let's say that I do this a lot with facility, and I recognize that the profession doesn't need to be a very big field, but the specialty really does. I can make it bigger by dragging. Oop, there it goes. And then it'll actually stay as well. So when I save and come back later on, I can keep that table adjusted that size. And so you can make these bigger, smaller as you need. You can move them back and forth. And the last thing to kind of keep in mind is, let's suppose I did another row, and this one I just said RN. This is probably not a good idea to do. But let's say I wanted to change all the RNs to the word nursing instead. Okay, you'll notice that some of our previous examples have actually had the same kind of thing. RNOR, for instance, cardiovascular. These two rows kind of conflict. The same job could actually trigger both of them. In situations like this, if multiple rows match a job, as you can see this text up here, the priority is based on the order of rows given from top to bottom. So this row would receive priority. And in this case, probably this row just wouldn't trigger ever. Now, with that in mind, and the priority being an important kind of thing, we can drag and drop rows. So let's say if they don't match these two others, we want the rest of the RNs to be moved to nursing or something like that to be changed. Well, then these two rows, by putting this at the very end, these two rows will match first, and they'll continue to be RN. I can put them here as well, just for some extra clarity so you can see it. These will continue to be RN and have the specialties changed. But then if something doesn't match those two rows and it goes past, like for instance, I think we had some RN burn unit jobs, they would be changed to nursing, nursing burn unit. So that's kind of the main idea here. This is very similar to like execution order with rules otherwise, if that's a helpful comparison for you. But you'll want basically to, if you have like default rows or rows that you want kind of at the end, something to match to, you want to put those lower on the list. If you have rows that you really want to match that receive priority, you put those higher on the list, and you can add to top or bottom, and you can also drag like we said. Finally, last bit of information that might be helpful. There are two other buttons here, download template and export to CSV. The template will pull a CSV file, an Excel file that has all the columns in their proper order, and will then let you be able to add columns or add rows to the spreadsheet and then upload it here. Export to CSV will pull the current table data in order and then allow you to change it there. So this would just be if, for instance, you want to change data through an Excel spreadsheet, or maybe you have like a 900 row table, right? And it's really complicated and difficult to work with. Maybe there's lots of columns. You don't really want to scroll left and right very much, and you're more comfortable working on Excel. You can do that, and then you can make your adjustments and then choose the file and upload here, and it will overwrite whatever you had before. So keep that in mind. You have to save before it officially overwrites it, but if you are making big adjustments to a table, you might copy the row, you might export the CSV and save that somewhere else first before making the big changes and stuff like that. And actually, I said final thing, but one more final thing. I forgot to mention these fields at the top. So you'll notice when I add a row, or it'll pop in here or pop in at the bottom, and I can remove those rows by clicking these X's. But you'll notice these also this thing at the top. This isn't a row itself. This is actually a filter. So again, imagine you had like a 900 row table. And it's really complicated and hard to deal with. You have the ability to type in this and filter down by just the specific value that you're trying to get at. So in this case, OR. Oh, look at me typing in the wrong spot. OR, and then RNOR pops up. So very, very useful for if you're trying to troubleshoot and you're trying to say, listen, I think this table is supposed to work, but it doesn't appear to be working. Why is it not working? You can look at what a job currently has and then be able to make these adjustments and considerations from there. Okay, that'll do it. I'll explain the rest of the tables, but if you have any other questions or clarifications based on this video or other questions that you're having, please always feel free to reach out to us via Get Help Support, open a ticket, and our support team will be happy to help you. Have a nice day.